Ruth chapter 2. Naomi had a relative named Boaz, who was a wealthy and influential man. He was from the family of Elimelech, Naomi's husband. One day Ruth said to Naomi,
"Let me go to the fields to pick up the grain that's left behind by the harvesters. Maybe someone will let me follow along behind the harvesters and pick up the grain that falls."
"Go, my daughter."
So Ruth went to the field and walked behind the harvesters, picking up the grain that fell. And by chance she happened to come to a field that belonged to Boaz, a relative of Elimelech. Just then, Boaz arrived from Bethlehem and said to the workers,
"May the Lord be with you."
May the Lord bless you.
Then Boaz asked the foreman of his workers,
"Who is that young woman there?"
She is the Moabite, woman who came back from Moab with Naomi. She asked me if she could follow the workers and gather grain behind them. And she has been hard at work ever since, except for a short rest in the shelter.
So Boaz said to Ruth,
"Listen, my daughter, don't go and glean in another field. Stay here with my female servants. Keep close to the women working in my field. See which part of the field they are harvesting and follow them. I have told the men not to lay a hand on you, and whenever you are thirsty, go and get a drink from the water jars the men have filled."
Then Ruth bowed down with her face to the ground and said,
"Why have I found favor in your eyes, that you should take notice of me, since I am a foreigner?"
I have heard about everything you have done for your mother-in-law. Since your husband died, I know how you left your father and mother and your own country to come and live among a people you had never known before. May the Lord repay you for your kindness. May the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge, reward you fully.
The Lord has been very kind to me. He has comforted me and spoken kindly to me, even though I am not as worthy as one of your servants.
At lunchtime, Boaz said to Ruth,
"Come here, take a piece of bread and dip it in the wine."
Then she sat down with the harvesters, and Boaz gave her some roasted grain. She ate all she wanted and had some left over. As she got up to glean, Boaz gave orders to his men.
Let her gather grain even among the sheaves, and don't humiliate her. Also, pull out some stalks for her from the bundles and leave them for her to pick up, and don't rebuke her.
So Ruth gleaned in the field until evening. Then she threshed the barley she had gathered, and it amounted to about an ephah. She carried it back to town, and her mother-in-law saw how much she had gathered. Ruth also brought out and gave her what she had left over after she had eaten enough. Her mother-in-law asked,
"Where did you glean today? Where did you work? May the man who took notice of you be blessed by the Lord."
So Ruth told Naomi that she had gleaned in the fields of a man named Boaz. And Naomi said,
"May the Lord bless Boaz, who has not stopped showing his kindness to the living and the dead. He is a close relative who has taken care of us."
Besides all this, Boaz has said that I can continue working with his servants until the harvest is finished.
It is good for you, my daughter, to go with his female servants, so that if you worked in another man's field, you might be harmed.
So Ruth worked with the female servants of Boaz and gleaned until the barley and wheat harvests were finished, and she continued to live with her mother-in-law.